The study of animal emotions is really in its infancy. There's a tendency to think about nature as being all about survival. There's a lot of research on fear, on anger, and on grief. And there's very little research on joy.
How much do we find happiness, joy, positivity generally across animal species? How much is that sort of embedded, ingrained in us as a natural part of being an animal?
It's been understudied. We think it's a natural phenomenon. And like all natural phenomena, we should be able to study it scientifically.
A big part of our project was to try to take something that is a fluffy question. Do animals experience joy, right? I mean, that sounds like a children's book, but to ask it in a rigorous, scientific, replicable way. Equally important is the intellectual diversity of the people on our team. We have people coming from field biology, from psychology, from cognitive science, from marine science, and we have people coming from philosophy.
Philosophers like myself who work closely with scientists also pay attention to how we make inferences from experiments.
Bringing together all of these different perspectives helps us ask better questions.
We do have a working definition of joy. We're looking at short-term bursts of positive affect.
Something in the environment triggers something, and you have an emotional reaction to it. So we're looking for these aha moments, these moments of transformation.
We can set up an environment and then try and put something into that environment that we think may spark joy, and then measure it at that point.
A lot of the methods that we're using, so thermal imaging, different kinds of facial expressions and vocalizations and movements, those are things that don't last for an hour. We look for those biological and behavioral markers of moving into that state, and then eventually you return to a more neutral state. The grant was set up to study 3 different types of animals: great apes, dolphins, and parrots. These are all species that are highly social, they're highly intelligent, and they play a lot.
Play is one of those things that lots of animals do across a wide variety of taxonomic groups, from birds to mammals, but also even reptiles and fish, perhaps. And play elicits perhaps this kind of joyful state.
We wanted to choose species that were very different from one another. It forced us to develop methods that could be applied to a wide variety and diversity of species. The grant is organized around 5 different themes. Kia are a highly social, very playful alpine parrot. They live in New Zealand, and they are very inquisitive, they're very exploratory, and they love playing with one another. They produce warble vocalizations, which is essentially a form of Kia laughter. And in those vocalizations, they produce them during play, but they also produce them when the weather is particularly beautiful. They produce them on sunny, snowy days. They love snow, they love playing in snow, and so we've found that weather is a significant predictor of when they will produce warble calls in the wild. So it seems like warble calls are a form of vocalization that encodes positive emotion. In great apes, we've been looking at laughter. We're finding it not just in play, but we're also finding it in things like reunions. We found that bonobos, listening to laughter of other bonobos, become more optimistic. and they expect a positive outcome, even if they're encountering an ambiguous situation.
With dolphins, the first thing we're doing is looking for what has been called a victory squeal. This very specific vocalization that the dolphins would do just after they had been told that their behavior was correct. They also saw the victory squeal when the dolphins were chasing and catching a fish. That's a huge energetic output if you're chasing a fish. So is it associated with the emotion that is positive, or maybe it's associated with energetic output? So we had new behaviors being trained by the trainers, high energy behaviors and low energy behaviors. And we found a bunch of burst pulses. They were associated only with correct behaviors, almost never happened with incorrect behaviors, but happened just as much with high energy as low energy behaviors. So it didn't seem to be the energetic output. What I'm seeing that says this is joy is that when the dolphin's trying really hard to figure out a new behavior, and it's a difficult thing, and then the trainer says, "You did it, you got it." It's this immediate sort of explosion, and the dolphins sometimes will jump out of the water. They'll sometimes make all sorts of movements. They're squealing pretty much that whole time.
Yes, buddy! That was it!
So one of the other parts of the study that I'm doing is windfall task.
This is a situation where we create an expectation in the animal, and then we violate that expectation in a positive way. We're giving them a positive surprise.
So for example, with apes, what I was doing is I had a cup and I hid a treat under it and did that 5 times. So, hey, you're seeing a treat, you're getting a treat. You're seeing a treat, you're getting a treat. Completely expected. On the 6th trial, I hide the treat as normal, but then magic trick, 10 treats fall out. With that magic trick, what we're hoping to see is some explosion, burst of joy or happiness that happens. We get this really pretty easily with bonobos. We get these, and they're just telling everybody how excited they are that there are 10 grapes in front of them. What the windfall hopefully is teaching us is that we can predict and we can elicit positive affect in another species. And therefore, hopefully, we've created positive emotion.
I ran a series of experiments. One of them was with bonobos, our closest living relatives, and we assessed their emotions with this test of optimism bias. So we first sort of trained them to press a button, get a grape in this black box, press a button, get a grape in this black box. And then sometimes we showed them white boxes, and those never had grapes in it. So over time, they learned to just skip over those. And then during the test, we played them either laughter or a control environmental sound and showed them these gray boxes that they had never seen before. They have to decide basically whether it's closer to the rewarded black box or unrewarded white box. When we played them laughter, they were slightly more optimistic because they were more likely to approach the gray boxes that they had never seen before. We're hypothesizing there's some sort of emotional contagion. When they hear laughter, it sort of puts them in a more positive emotional state.
I'm mostly focusing on the work that's going on with the great apes and how joy or positive affect influences different cognitive processes, including learning and attention. For this study, the bonobo sees a normal touchscreen. They are trained on the very simple task to touch the white dots. For a very brief moment, for 500 milliseconds, they get presented with different facial expressions. So positive facial expressions such as play faces that are likely an indicator of joy, or neutral ones, but then to contrast also bare teeth facial expressions which are more in distress. What draws our attention? What do we orient on more immediately? What keeps our attention, but also how difficult or how easy is it to disengage from a certain stimulus. Everyone needs to experience positive states and joyful moments to survive.
In the fifth theme, we're interested in whether joy directly impacts social interaction and prosociality. We're also doing some experiments with cooperation tasks. So taking an ape who's listening to laughter, or a Kia who's listening to a warble call, or a dolphin who's listening to a victory squeal, are they more likely to cooperate with another individual after they've heard that than if they're given a control vocalization or a control stimulus?
We're really hoping that we've sort of established a set of protocols that could be generalized and refined by other people.
I see it as laying a foundation for a new science of asking questions about positive emotion in animals.
Our resistance to granting animals the ability to feel positive emotions definitely reflects on us. Part of that is that question of human uniqueness that we would like to continue to believe in.
There's no question in my mind that humans are unique, but so is every other species. Humans have a lot of capacities that other animals don't have to the extent that we do. But as far as I can tell, we don't have a single capacity that is totally absent in other species.
If we recognize that they can be playful and they can feel joy, do we have to think again about how we treat them? And so if we start being able to ask questions about something as sort of esoteric as joy, maybe eventually we can start asking questions about love, continue the exploration into empathy. I think all of those things would be open.
If we can start to appreciate moments of beauty and meaning and joy in the lives of other species, then we'll be able to better appreciate them in each other and in ourselves. And that's certainly something that I hope we will take away from this study, is a greater capacity for joy in our own lives.